Hey, what's going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video, and today I'm going to be doing my RWBY Volume 5, Episode 10, aka Chapter 10 review. So we're going to talk about this. Really good episode. I really like this episode. We had a lot of intense, epic fight scenes, and I was really happy. It was like they had some really good, like, you know, animation type, well done fight scene in this episode. So I was very happy for it. We were looking for this for a while now, and we got to see it today, people. This episode starts off. We got Osban and Crow, and they're talking. About, Crow just gets off the, phone, or he gets a call. Right? From, from Lionheart or whatever, and he's like, telling him, we got the council to agree, and we're going to spend a, troop, a group out there or whatever. Obviously, this is a lie. And Osmond kind of suspects this, how they changed their plans all of a sudden there. Ruby comes in there. We got to see a little bit of Ruby Rose in this episode. She basically, asks, where this relic is, the beacon relic. And he says, oh, I hid that, really good. They don't have it or whatever. And then she asks one more question, and he basically knows the question is like, no, it's not my cane. Don't know if he's lying or not, but he's not supposed to be lying, so I'm assuming he's telling the truth this time now, from Yang's, rule, so I don't know what he is there, so that's how that kind of ends there. Really good, and thought they did a really good job with that setup. We'll see with Ruby and all the other people in the coming episodes. But next you got the Lionheart guy, who is now talking to Raven because Raven knows that he betrayed, Haven Academy. So Raven basically talks about how, you're only with her because your fear, of her. He's like, exactly, that's why you're with her and stuff like this. And, she it's about, I don't know exactly what the point was of this, to basically talk to him. I don't know, I guess she wanted a confirmation, of this. Don't exactly know what Raven's motives are here, but obviously Raven is definitely planning something. Don't exactly know what it is, but based on the conversation, didn't really kind of get anything new because we already knew about this stuff and we just heard it from him now through Raven. So we'll see where that goes. After that scene's over, we got Blake and Ilya, and they just start fighting. It's just intense back and forth, just really good, talking trash, how, it's the only way is through hate, that's how we get results or whatever there. And Blake's like, this is not how you should do it. And he's like, you were once like me. You did it, you believed in what we believed in. Now you don't. And then they keep fighting. A lot of good fight scenes in this. And then eventually, Ilya basically turns out the light. She turns out the lights. Now, some people are kind of confused by this because a lot of people are like, well, why would she turn out the lights? That gives Blake an advantage or whatever because she can see in the dark better or whatever. because of her powers and stuff. The problem is Ilya's power is better in the dark because she can camouflage. So even though Blake can actually see in the dark, because Ilya can camouflage into her surroundings, she has a better advantage in the dark than Blake does. This isn't a disadvantage for Blake, but against Ilya it is because of the power that she has. If this had been against anyone else, Blake probably would have easily won. But since Ilya has a power that can camouflage into her surroundings in the darkness, Blake cannot really get a good read on her. This is why Blake was struggling in the dark, even though she normally can do really good in the dark. So this isn't really, a weakness or whatever. A lot of people are saying that this is, a plot hole or something like that. Like, no, it's not. It's just that Ilya has a better power in the darkness that can counteract what Blake can do in the dark. Yeah, Blake can see in the dark. The problem is Ilya can camouflage in the dark, which gives her the better advantage, because even though Blake can see in the dark, if a person is camouflaging into her surroundings, it's going to be much more harder to find that person, whether she can see in the dark or not. And that's why Ilya did this. Anyways, so then after this, we had then basically Blake was trying to find her. She was failing to find her because she kept camouflaging. So eventually, after just missed, cue shots and whatnot, eventually what Blake does is she basically says sorry to her dad, because basically she has to start a fire. So she starts a fire around the room, and because of this, she finally had light. They had light now, which means now Ilya couldn't camouflage anymore into the darkness, which was giving her the edge over Blake, even though it was in the dark. You can see in the dark, but you can't see someone who's camouflaging all the time, and that's what was getting Blake thrown off in the fight. So then eventually, they start fighting. Now, while this is all going on, by the way, I should mention that Sun and Blake's fathers were fighting. Blake's father eventually goes through the room to where Blake and Ilya are, and he's fighting the two guards by himself. So I was like, well, where's Sun? While this is happening. And Sun eventually comes in a little late, but he does come in. But Blake's father, while he's, tangling these two together, he gets stabbed in the back of the shoulder. So it's not a fatal wound, it's a flesh wound, but he does get stabbed. Arts to fight him off. Sun starts helping out. And then while this is going on, we finally see Blake's mother. Blake's mother is finally shown, which confirms that she was alive, because I was kind of concerned that they hadn't been showing her for a while, that could imply that she might be dead, and they didn't want to show her yet. But she is alive, and as a matter of fact, one of the guards were like wounded or whatever, behind the table or whatever, and Blake's mother was like, still fighting, and there was this dragon, like Faunus or whatever person, and what happened is he jumped through and took out one of the guards, and then what happened is Blake's mother just came in there and basically knocked him out before they cut off. Also before this, one of the guards says, to Blake's mother, no, I don't. At first, I was like, wait, what is he like? Why would she say no? But she did it anyways, knocked him out, and that's when they cut off to out of that scene and went back to where Blake and Ilya were fighting. You have Son and Blake's father, fighting them off. Then you got the dude that looks like Sokka that's just all pissed off. While this was distracting too, because there was a moment where Blake had Ilya pinned down because she had lost her weapon. She had her pinned down. And so they basically talked about, what happened and, you got to stop doing this and whatnot. The distraction, though, of them, coming into the frame, obviously got Ilya out of that hold. Son actually starts battling Ilya, while Blake's father is taking out or fighting the guard still. And while this is happening, Blake is kind of crying a little bit there. And then at the end of it, there's this collapsing, the deck or whatever is coming down, and so Son and Ilya are in it, and so the father, Blake's father, basically holds it up, and so they kind of get out, but then Blake's father is just basically stuck, and so it looks like Blake's father's gonna die here, and I was kind of worried about this, but then Son uses his powers to make, gold clones of himself and assists Blake's father. And while this is happening, that guy who looks like Sokka, that guard that looks like Sokka, decides, to go after him and, kill him, I guess. And while this is happening, Blake uses her power to take her father out of there, and so then basically he's now in where the deck was, and the deck is in the air, and so with the Blake father not holding it up anymore, it crushes him, and he dies instantly. Well, at least I assume he died, because, pretty sure he died. Okay, so, yeah. Anyways, so then there's one more guard, and he's just gets up and he's all pissed. Do you realize what you have done? And then he charges right at them, and right from behind, Ilya with her weapon now takes the last remaining guard out herself, and then she starts crying or whatever, and that's the end of it. That's the end of that. Then after that, you see everybody outside. You see the guards, the good guards, basically taking out these, evil soldiers for Adam. Taking them all out, the ones that at least are still living, including the dragon. That the mother took out. I was really surprised by that because I thought he was supposed to be a big deal, but apparently he's not, because he got taken out by Blake's mother pretty easily. Granted, granted, we never really seen how strong Blake's mother was, but I didn't think this character was gonna be that easily to take out, since they just introduced him in this season, and this was I think his first major battle. I didn't think he'd get taken out right away. What? You know what I'm saying? So, that was kind of weird. So then Blake gives her speech about, hate, that this was not just the humans, this was not a human attack, this was a Phonics attack, Phonics attacking Phonics, and the only way we're going to be able to stop Adam is we have to fight for our freedom, basically. And so after that is all done with, after she gives that speech, Ilya basically volunteers to join if, they want her. And so then the guard's like, oh, no, you're not going anywhere. Don't you realize what you did or whatever? And Blake was like, no, forget it. I forgive her, and Blake's father's like, or he says to, the guard's like to Blake's father, are you sure about this? One thing I, hadn't learned until later in life is to forgive, or whatever there. So, Ilya, despite everything she did, gets a pass, which I think is bullcrap, honestly. No, like, I don't care. She no, because that's bull, man. That's bull. Then again, I can't totally say that this is bad because, I mean, this is similar to, like, the Teen Titans and Terra type situation. So, I guess it sort of makes sense because that was the first thing I thought of, actually, now that I think about it, is this kind of like the Teen Titans type thing where, like, the only difference is, though, is Terra died, though. Like, she actually literally sacrificed herself and then died. Now, of course, she came back. We still don't know why she came back because, Cartoon Network decided to end the show. But, and gave us the crappy Teen Titans go. But, that's kind of what this reminds me of. That they did this. The only difference is Ilya didn't die in this, and that she's going to actually help. Now, granted, because I know a lot of people said that Ilya was probably going to die, trying to, one of the theories is that Ilya was going to remain a villain, and then Ilya was going to end up, like, at the end sacrificing herself, because then she realized that what she was doing was wrong, and she was going to sacrifice herself to take out Adam, for Blake. Similar to the way, what happened to Darth Vader, in Star Wars or something like that. That's kind of what I thought, what people were thinking that. But obviously that's not the case here, because obviously they went more in a different route where she decided to turn or go to Blake's side while she was still living, not sacrificing herself. So, she could, but she'd be on the good side, so it wouldn't be, like, unexpected, since she betrayed Adam. But, yeah, that was the thing I first thought of, was, like, this was probably more like the Terra type thing, sort of, because Terra does sacrifice herself, and Ilya doesn't sacrifice herself in this sense. So, but that was the closest thing I could think of a similar situation here. At the end here, that was basically the end of the episode. Was them basically talking, the father and Blake and stuff like that. And that's how it basically ended. Overall, I liked the episode. I thought it was really good. I thought it had a nice build to it. I didn't really have an issue at all with this episode overall. I loved the fight scene between Ilya and Blake. I thought it was probably one of the better fights that we have had all season, actually. I liked, the all different elements they included, the darkness, now, so again, like I tried to tell you, the Blake had a disadvantage because Ilya's camouflage power. That's why she couldn't see her in the dark, or had a hard time seeing her in the dark. But I like that. I like how they made it more intriguing. They made it more difficult. Just a lot of things overall that happened in this episode I just really liked. And I hope we get more really good fight scenes like this in the coming episodes. A lot of the fight scenes have been really good, but I thought this one was really the best so far. I just think the way they set everything up, I thought was really well done. And very well done by Rooster Teeth's animators and all those other people that do that stuff. Just very good. Let me know what you guys think about this episode. What do you think about the fight scene? What do you think about what's going to happen next? Obviously, we still haven't gotten Neo back. But then again, we didn't have Yang or anyone else besides RWBY in this episode. So, we'll see more, hopefully, in the next episode. But overall, I really did enjoy this episode. I love the fight scene. It was really good. Well animated. I thought well directed, too. The way they choreographed it, everything. you know, for Ilya and Blake's fight. You know, and also it didn't take away from the other guys that were fighting too, because, you know, they did show them a little bit too, and they showed their struggles too. The only issue really I thought about this episode that I didn't think was really, that I thought was off, is why Sun wasn't there for about, like, you know, 45 seconds of when Blake's father got into the room with the soldiers that he was fighting. You know, I don't understand how Sun could have somehow, you know, not been fighting with him at that moment, since they were, like, fighting with each other, since they were fighting at the same time, you know, in the previous room. So that's probably the only thing that I thought they kind of got off or didn't really explain very good. And everything else I thought was very, very well done. So yeah, all my playlist reviews of everything I've ever done for anime and all that stuff, it'll be in the description, as well as all my my previous RWBY episode review will be in the description as well. And that's about it. Comment, rate. If you like this video, please give me a like. And that's about it. I am the SS Ultimate Goku. I'm out of here. Peace.